Hi, everybody. Jack O'Malley coming to you from the basement bunker. Oh boy, it has been a quite a weekend as we go forward. People are very hot and they're emotional, and I understand it completely. This is a difficult time, especially with the much discussion of fraud and the recounts and that sort of thing. So again, I just want to touch base. There's a lot of people who have sent me notes saying, well, the legislature needs to do this and you need to do that. Let me go back to something that I think is very important. The legislature has only so much power, so much influence. Many of the things that are needed to be done here already happen. A lot of talk about audits. Well, each county is supposed to do an audit and follow up on how everything went and do all of that. I'm not talking about a recount. I'm talking about checking and making sure everything was done properly. At that point, if there are irregularities, and I know some of you will laugh when I say this, and I have to admit, I have to kind of chuckle myself, but Governor Whitmer, Attorney General Nessel, Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, they're the lead on these sorts of things because that's their bailiwick and that's their situation. Now, the legislature on Saturday did convene our oversight committees, Senate and House, and they have subpoenaed the state records and are expected, I believe, to do the same for the Detroit election situation this week. So, and then we're going to follow up. So our position, as I see it and understand it, is to look and say, all right, what went wrong and how can we fix it for the next time? If there were any illegal activities, that would be for our Attorney General, our Federal Justice Department, et cetera, et cetera. Also, when it comes to recounts, I talked about this last week, the aggrieved candidate, aka President Trump, and his party are the ones that need to fight and push forward. I also understand, and I could be wrong on this, so please, I don't think I am, but I might be. The vote count has now reached a point where any recount would have to be covered entirely by that candidate's campaign. So in Michigan, if we were to have a recount, that would have to be paid for by the Trump campaign. So that's their decision at this point, whether to move forward. So these are all the things that are legal. You just, when you try to follow the rules, and everybody wants you to be a country of law, the laws are there, and sometimes they don't actually just roll the way you want them to, but they're there for a purpose. And one of the things I want to go back to is I worry, I don't know the details, but they're going to be looked into. The Antrim County situation, I heard what it was that clerk failed, got busy, and forgot to upgrade his software. New software had come in for the tallying purposes. He didn't do it, and that's why there was that mix-up. So those 47 other counties are just fine. I'm not saying that is 100% fact, but that's what I'm hearing. My point is that there are lots of thoughts, lots of, well, what about this? Or I saw somebody that did this, and it gets out there on social media, and it becomes just gospel. I'd read an article that the Detroit News had put out about the Antrim County situation, that it got posted. A story popped up, and some guy in Texas is the one who saw it and forwarded it. And next thing you know, it's nationwide. So again, we're working through this. We'd all like it to be over tomorrow, and it turn out to the way you want your candidate to be, but it takes time. And as I understand it, the Michigan GOP is working with the president's campaign, and they are following through on Michigan. I have no idea what's going on in those other states, but in Michigan, the aggrieved candidate and his party are working on it. I think that's huge for you to know. The other thing, again, that I think is very important, because a couple of prominent pundits last week were calling on the legislature, our legislature, to do certain things. Well, a 1954 law appropriates how our electoral voters are set, and they are set by the winner's party. And that was done in August at the state conventions. So the Republican electoral delegates are already picked. The Democrats are already picked. I'm assuming Green Party, et cetera, are already picked. So that's done. We have no say in it because that was done in 1954. If we want to change that law, we can attempt to do so, but we can't do it on the fly. Okay? Let's see. What other things have we got here? Looking at this election, it's going to have to play out. And President Trump and the state Republican Party are dealing with it. We as a legislature are watching. We have an oversight role. We don't have an active role. And I do believe that as we move forward, we need to look at the next year's election. How do mail-in ballots get sent out a little sooner? Are there ways to better cover the drop boxes, et cetera, et cetera? There's a lot there, and I promise you I will work hard to make sure that we upgrade and do the best we can so that we fix any boo-boos. Now, with that said, I think I said it last week, since I was a young man, the city of Detroit has been a mess when there's the big elections. So that one might take a little more work, but we do need to be on it, and hopefully everything gets taken care of as we move forward. But trust me when I say that your state legislature is doing all that we legally can, and that the aggrieved candidate and his party are also doing everything they can. So we are moving forward. I do want to touch base on a couple of COVID things here as well, which I think are interesting. This got lost last week in the election uproar, but the UIA, Unemployment Insurance Agency, you remember all the trouble we've been having with that? The director, Steve Gray, has resigned. And, I've met him a few times. I think he's a nice guy, but I think this overwhelmed him. And it's probably not a bad idea to get a new set of eyes in there. The other thing that I heard, and I thought, okay, well, it makes sense. UIA went to an appointment system. The only problem, as I understand it, and I've heard from some constituents, is they only take appointments for 9 weeks out. And if you aren't in, then you got to keep calling back. So it's helped a little, but it's still a big frustration. So we'll see. The Office of the State Employer, the director there, Lisa Eastland Olson will be the acting director, and the Office of the State Employer is basically the HR department for the state of Michigan. So it'll be interesting. And I believe Chair Hall of our Oversight Committee has asked her to come back and talk to us about what it is she has planned for UIA. So, yeah, and just one other thing, Department of Health and Human Services, I know that's a nasty word to a lot of people, are asking people to work remotely from home whenever possible, as we are seeing a rise in cases of the COVID. And again, I will say, we're doing more testing. We do have problems with the numbers going up. We want to make sure that our hospitals are not overtaxed, but I believe they're in pretty good shape as of right now. So let's just be sensible out there. Let's be respectful of each other as we move forward with this, okay? So that's where I'm going to leave it as of right now. It's still a fluid situation by way of the recounts and the election situation. Let's everybody just bring it down a step. We're not all dirty dogs. People are moving forward, and this is happening, okay? So I leave you with that tonight. I'm sure it's not enough for some, but I hope for those who are reasonable understand that everything that can be done is being done, okay? So, and as we move forward to our next elections, I do believe that the legislature will, in its appropriate and fitting role, look towards oversight and enact new legislation that should take care of and hopefully clean up some of the issues that arrived with the no reason absentee balloting. All right? So it's a tough situation, but we're going to keep moving forward in it. All right? Level heads will prevail. Have a good evening.